Welcome to Keep Going, a podcast about failure and success, hosted by John Biggs. Every week, we talk to an amazing person about a time they failed and what they learned. And remember, when you're going through hell, keep going.
Welcome back to Keep Going, a podcast about success and failure. I'm John Biggs. Today on the show, we have Crackberry Kevin Michaluk. He doesn't like to use that pronunciation. Michaluk, right? Michaluk.
Raised Canadian, we say Michaluk.
Michaluk. Oh
Yours
my God.
sound really European, classy, sexy. I wish I could roll it off the tongue as well.
Michaluk. So. Oh my God.
Thanks,
it sounds like a Wendigo or something like that. It sounds like some kind of crazy. Yeah. So
that's why I go by Crackberry Kevin. It's
exactly
memorable. There's only one on the planet, pretty sure.
Yeah.
You will not meet another one of me.
So you've been in the media business for probably as long as I have. I distinctly remember your blog popping up around the same time I was doing a lot of stuff. You were focused a lot on Blackberry, and now you have a product called Click, which is essentially you add a Blackberry keyboard to your iPhone. First off, I want you to tell me all about this project and how it came to be, and second off, I want to go through, I'm sure, the inevitable horrors of building something like this, especially considering you have to update it almost every year for new phones and all that other good stuff. So tell us the story here.
Love it. I mean, I think you started off right. For me personally, a lot of scar tissue coming out of the media business for many years. So I got into media publishing back in 2007 when I launched crackberry.com. And, that was my life for several years through the heyday of BlackBerry smartphones. As they went through the meteoric rise and the decline, I rode through that all and built that into a larger company. So I had a couple of business partners. We launched other similar communities for other smartphones. So we had Android Central for the world of Google. We had iMore, led by Renee Ritchie, for iPhone, iOS, Apple products, Microsoft products, and built that into a pretty large specialist media company over a decade plus, and sold it to Future Publishing back in 2019. So did really well on the back of that. I stayed on for a year for the earnout period. And then in May 2020, I left and took a little bit of a mini break, retirement of sorts, on the back of COVID hitting and turning 40. I was like, I need a break. It's been a long period. Had a really crazy time though, something I would never go back and do again if I could make a different decision, which was had a non-compete for several years, had a non-solicit for several years. And my only skill set at the time was still in content, and I couldn't even run a Instagram account as part of that exit. So I had a rough couple of years, and kind of what saved me was actually going into the world of clicks. And it came about by a handful of us coming together through an improbable sort of circumstance. And it was actually in 2022, somebody from the tech industry reached out to me and got me involved in another project, which was working on a secure operating system, almost a spiritual successor, if you will, to BlackBerry 10 on the software side. So that project is going. It's a Swiss-based company, has a separate team on it and everything else. And I had nothing going on. I was like, I will get involved with this project. So I invested some money, I got going, and I brought in some of my industry contacts on that project. And one of the people I brought into that project had some other mutual friends in the industry. And as we were working on that, a few of us got together and the idea for Clicks happened. And it was January 4th, 2023, when I saw what was a sort of just a drawing, like an image sent over a WhatsApp file for a sketch. And I was like, yeah, I get it. Throw a keyboard on an iPhone. I've been wanting to do this since 2007, when Steve Jobs announced the iPhone. Makes sense to me. And we looked at I just kind of sat there for 5 minutes after I saw that image, and I was thinking, what year is it? Number one, I'm like, what's happened the last few years? How long has it been since there's been a phone with buttons that you could buy? And there hasn't been a BlackBerry in years. So even the ones that were on the market were aging out. I was thinking about the demand. Is there actually an audience for it? And I'm like, well, the only person who really knows that really well on this planet is me, because Crackberry Kevin's the guy who gets harassed every day with tweets and emails and LinkedIn messages saying, Kevin, when's there going to be a new BlackBerry out? So I had a bit of an unfair information advantage to it. And then it was like, well, why isn't anybody else doing this? And the answer was, well, I think we're actually the crazy people who need to give this a try. So the handful of us kind of initiated a project just to see if the form factor would work. And we started like you do, right? 3D printout, and we got one built, sent it to me, and the real test, John, was how I picked it up. Because if you think about old Blackberries, you always used to grip them at the bottom, almost in a little prayer position. You really held them at the bottom, and I thought, well, if this is an iPhone, it's going to look, maybe it's top heavy. Will it work? Didn't know. But when I picked it up, I immediately grabbed it with my pinky at the bottom of the phone, sort of that pinky shelf, and my index fingers on the back. And the realization that, hey, you actually hold it like a big touchscreen phone now. You don't hold it like an old Blackberry, made it work. My thumbs were in the right spot. Everything kind of fit. And from there, we progressed into building a prototype. And then once we had that working, we said, okay, this thing actually works really well. Let's build a proper company now. And then it was actually a year later, January 4th, 2024 last year, when we unveiled the product at CES. And it blew up, went completely viral. It was one of the, I'd say most talked about products of the show last year in Vegas.
So I want to actually talk about that, because that's interesting. What do you think you did in Vegas that was unusual? So I mean, I'm thinking to myself, first off, CES has kind of hit the skids for all intents and purposes. There's not, you don't have a lot coming out, and for you to take the oxygen in that room is extremely, extremely impressive, because everything else is just like, I don't think it's not a place to be seen anymore by at least the big folks. But for you to go in as a small guy and basically say, hey, look at this crazy thing we just built, and everybody loves it. And I remember this distinctly. To make CES, like, first off, interesting again is a big ask. And then second off, to make everybody there, like, just be in love with your product. What did it take to do that?
I mean, I think the product did a lot of the heavy lifting. And, there's two things. And this is sort of where, for me, flipping from years in the media side to building a product with a team who knows how to build products. And we've witnessed thousands of product launches. You kind of know how to use CES to advantage if you have the right product, because the media is going there looking for stories. And to your point, there's not always a lot of stories. And if you can give them something that's fun, easy to understand, has a high addressable market, has a sense of nostalgia too, it's a story for everyone. And I think what Clicks hit on, I kind of jokingly say it's almost like we built a Taylor Swift product. Like whether you love Taylor Swift or you don't, everybody has an opinion on it, and they're happy to share it to anybody who will listen. And a product like Clicks, when you see it, you get this emotional response. There's the people who miss their buttons on their old Blackberries and Trio phones. There's a new younger generation who's never seen it before and is like, I don't get it. What is it? This doesn't make sense. There's the people who are just the haters online, who are maybe always the loudest, right? Where they're going to be vocal and be like, this is stupid. But at the end of the day, a product like this is actually a preference. It's kind of like, I'm a person who doesn't usually take notes with a pen and paper. But when I go into a room of people and half of them pull out their laptops to take notes and half of them pull out a pen and paper to take notes, I don't really judge them. It's just a preference, right? Time has moved on. The electronic version hasn't replaced the analog version. It's like wearing a mechanical watch, which I choose to do, versus wearing an Apple Watch, which I also have. And I think what we've seen is that buttons on a phone is a highly personal choice, and there's no blanket rule to it. So when the product hit, everybody has this reaction. It looks great. It's unlike anything you've seen in recent years. We made sure to release it in popping colors. And it's a story that, my mom can understand or a younger person will understand. And I think it was just a ready-made product to be talked about for an event like CES. And it checked every box, and it just blew up. And what was really amazing for us is we came out of nowhere and then overnight had almost like a reputable, trusted industry company because of who we brought involved, right? We're sort of known players. We've been around the industry for a long time. The people we brought into the team were really well known. And, we left Vegas last year with, meetings with some of the biggest retailers in the world. We just overnight went from 6 people part-time working on a product, which might have been perceived as a crazy idea, to walking out of there with purchase orders, a drive to build the company and the team, and to build a proper business. And now we've had time to settle, to react to the craziness up front. And now we're building a proper consumer tech brand. And the goal is build something that's a household recognizable name as well as as well known as a lot of your favorite tech brands.
So tell me the horror stories. I mean, hardware is hard, right? So what happened there?
Hardware is hard. I think I want to change the saying though to hardware is life, because I think everything is hard, right? But I think hardware. If I was to get a tattoo, I would make it say hardware is life over hardware is hard. Everything is difficult with it. Everything takes longer than you expect it to take. There's always going to be complications on the supply chain side. You can't build the product you want to build. So I think the learnings from me, having covered so many, like literally hundreds of tech launches over the past decade, maybe even 1,000 plus, to building a product, I have a much better appreciation now for the challenges the company runs into. You can't just invent everything up front and bring it to market and think you're going to nail it the first try. So for us, launching the first version of Clicks, by the time it got out to consumers, we already knew what we would do in the next version of Clicks. So when we first unveiled it, it was for the iPhone 14 and 15. Solid product, really good. I think part of the reason we got so much attention was that it almost looked like a product Apple would build themselves, and the quality of the execution was like that. But there was things that we wanted to do that just needed more months of work before they could be put into a production line product. So we were already working on our iPhone 16 model before people had ever received the iPhone 14 and 15 model. And when you start to get feedback from customers, and as a tech reviewer, I get a product from a brand and I'm like, here's what's wrong with it, fix this in the next one. I now have this appreciation that the company probably already knows what's wrong with it. They're already working to fix it. They're going to be nice to you because you're a tech blogger and your job is to give your feedback on these things. But they live so closely with it every day, and they know every reason why, not just you're holding the product that you're holding, but what's not in the product you're holding that you wish was there and why. And they just can't talk about it, right? They just have to work in behind the scenes and woo you with the next one and the next one.
Yeah, I love that now you're on the other side and you're like
flipped it. It's total. It's half a cheat code, right? Like we really were able to take advantage of understanding what good product launches look like and the pitfalls and mistakes a lot of brands make. So I think we avoided a lot of things there. And my partners on the business who have the deep tech manufacturing experience, they've gone through it all before. And that's what's made my life really easy and allowed us to, I think, do a lot very quickly and avoid any catastrophic mistakes. That would be so easy to do. If I was a solo founder trying to get Clicks off the ground, I would have, we would have spent 10 times as much money. We probably still wouldn't be to market. The product wouldn't be 20% as good as it is. But I guess it's the benefit of getting older and experience is you learn from all those mistakes through the years. And then in the case of Clicks, we put everything together and we said, okay, let's use the collective experience. Let's use our collective network relationships and try to get it, do it fast and do it well. And where we have the cheat codes and the learnings, let's use them. And that helped us really get off the ground quickly. I'd say so I think on the product side, there's challenges and hardware is hard, but probably the ones that most of the people you would interview and they would give answers about hardware is hard. I almost want to say we avoided a lot of those. I think the challenge we've been working through a little bit is how fast do you scale and how do you control things on the funding side, et cetera. So, you set yourself for success. Set yourself up for success, not just in the short term, but ultimately in the long term. And, we initially self-funded the project in the early days when we were just building kind of our prototypes and getting it going. Once we knew we wanted to build the business, we raised $500,000 of, I'd call it strategic pre-seed or seed money from, friends and family, but it was industry friends, like people who've worked at and still work at, Google's, Apple's, Samsung's, used to work at Blackberry, some of our old friends there, people who are at Facebook, people who've really gone on in their careers, but they remember those good old days. They have a lot of experience. And one day when they get sick of their big corporate job, maybe they'll want to come work for Clicks because we're just trying to build this dream team of people who want to work hard, but have fun, build awesome stuff, no politics, and just do awesome stuff together. So we're trying to build a dream company to work for. We got some of those people to invest up front who, if we're successful, maybe 2 years, 5 years, whatever, 6 years down the road, we will be their parachute out from what they're doing today. And it'll give us that next level of growth. And that got us off the ground. But then after we got so much coverage, we're like, oh my God, let's go raise $20 million and at a $100 million valuation. And then, we're like, okay, deep breath. We haven't shipped one of these things yet. We don't know what the customer feedback's going to be. We're not sure who's going to love the product. We had a roadmap of things, even on the software side, that we knew we wanted to improve over time. And we called on a lot of people for advice who are running big tech companies to say, how soon should you go into retail stores versus just do D2C online? Obviously we have a physical product that's tactile, so you want to touch it, but it's also specialized in that it has to fit your phone model. So in a retail environment, you start to take up a lot of shelf space for a specialist product that would need a lot of SKUs for it to work in retail and to give you a proper experience. So the last year was a lot of questioning. Are we doing the right thing? Are we not doing the right thing? Are we, and not overly committing to one tactic that could set us up down the wrong path. So we've done some retail, but we haven't gone all in on retail, and we learned a lot from it. D2C, we've done a lot there, continue to ramp that focus, but we didn't start on Amazon right away because we knew Amazon is going to be great for volume, but also probably the quickest return process or negative review process if somebody doesn't have a great experience and it's out of our control. So really metering how do we invest, grow, scale, and then when is the product ready for the next step based on what we're learning, and then just managing cash flow in the middle, because it's really, I think the difference for me from a media company to this is we're running 3 businesses, right? We have to sell the product we've already built. So that's kind of business one. It's online, it's marketing, it's awareness, attention, everything else, customer support, success, all those things. Next thing is building the next product that's coming next, right? So our 2025 roadmap is locked down, but now that's the actual brass tacks of manufacturing and supply chain and logistics and managing cash flow on deposits and POs and everything else. And then it's about bringing the future forward on the R&D side. And I think what's been most exciting for me is that when we started last year, we launched a product to start with, right? And we didn't know if it was, how it was going to be perceived. I think products and startups, it's kind of like a good idea and a bad idea. They look kind of identical at the start, and you don't know until you launch it whether it's going to be perceived as crazy or brilliant. And I wouldn't say we were brilliant, but we were perceived well, but we didn't have a long-term vision yet. And we just reacted to the initial demand. But then we got to a place where we're like, okay, we understand the business we're in, the customers we're building for, who's loving the product, where we think we can really plant a flag in the smartphone space, and somewhere where, we're not competing against big tech, because obviously you're going to get crushed. But where can we compete against the guys who are maybe making a lot of money, have a lot of customers out there, but it's almost like they're not building tech at the level we're capable of building it. And the team we have, it's a team that's built and launched several smartphones. We built this, right? A slider phone in 2018 with a great keyboard. This is a complicated product to build. So when you cut your teeth on these kinds of things, and then we come back down to, a smart case, we have the chops to do this and then to innovate around that. So I think for us, we're going into an area that was maybe basic products done in high volume with high margin. And we're saying, let's rethink how people use these products. Your phone is the thing you touch and use the most today. The case has stayed relatively dumb, for lack of a better word. And while a lot of people see a keyboard here, which is true, we've really added brains to a case. And there's a lot of stuff we can do around that. So I think you're going to see a lot from us over the next few years where, the Clicks brand is there, but there's more things than buttons that can click. And we're really going to try to scale on the back of that. So if we talk again in 2 years or 3 years or 4 years, it should just be a no-brainer that you're buying Clicks for your new phone, whatever it is at that point in time.
Tell me about the one aspect of your success was that you were able to exit another company before that. So you exited with X amount of money.
Yeah.
How has that helped you doing this? Did it improve your confidence? I mean, obviously you have the cash, right? But what did you learn from that exit that you're trying to put in here?
Great question. So I'd say we were lucky in the sense, or I was personally lucky in the sense that after I exited and I got kind of bored doing nothing, and I couldn't do content, I spent some time in D2C commerce, and I got almost like my School of Hard Knocks / MBA. And I started to work on with another person who's not involved in Clicks at all, but a person local to me who's done really well in e-commerce. And we both decided we wanted to try something in the vitamin wellness space. And we launched a vitamin brand. We called it Future Proof. It was a supplement, travel-friendly packets. You could take 3 pills a day, get all the things you need, kind of like athletic greens to go. And I learned the other side of the industry because from the media side, I knew all those platforms and tools and the vocabulary and vernacular and how to drive traffic organically. But commerce is a whole different set of tools, terms, strategies, and everything that I didn't have as much recent experience with. And what I saw there was, wow, it's a different beast, right? When you go into e-commerce now and you have an undifferentiated product in a category where there's tons of competitors who have massive marketing budgets, and you have to pay to play, and you need it's just really hard. So for me, I went into that project thinking it was going to be easy. I was like, this will be easy. I came off this big exit. I know what I'm doing. I know content. I can do all these things. I'll learn quick. And no startup is easy, right? Like there might be the rare case where somebody gets off the ground, the right idea at the right time. But I mean, by and large, it's going to be blood, sweat, and tears, making it your 24/7 project. Every waking moment, whether you're, on the toilet at dinner with your wife, like your brain has to be switched on to make these things work. And what I saw in that project is not success. It was the opposite, right? It was not going to work. And I was putting money into it personally, thinking, it'll be easier tomorrow. And fairly quickly, it became clear to me. I'm like, no, we're outgunned. We don't know what we're doing enough of. We don't have the dollars to play with. And we're just in the wrong category with the wrong product at the wrong time. It was like, no. And at that point, I said, if I do commerce again, it's going to be a differentiated product. I never want to build the first version where there's 50 things before it. I want to be a unique product that we bring to market, have a story around it, because the story of the product is almost as important as the product itself. And that was a big learning. But then more importantly for me, I said, whatever I do next, I am going to go back to the younger version of myself where I'm scrappy. I have $0 in the bank. I have a chip on my shoulder. I've got everything to prove. And whatever came before just does not matter, because I will spend every waking moment until this mission is achieved. And that type of energy is what's needed with everybody you bring onto the team if you want to have a hope and heck of being successful. So I'm really glad I had some tough times in between getting going on Clicks, because now with Clicks, as I hope it comes through on the camera and my voice, it's like, no, this is all in. We have a great team. I'm luckily the dumb one on the team, because the quality of the people we brought in are so much better than me. And my job is to sort of, I don't know, I almost think of myself as the energizer bunny and motivator, but everybody's really motivated. So we're having a blast building. Challenges every day, and again, startups are hard. And to the point I made earlier, we're still navigating a little bit what to do, but now we're actually, we were navigating, and now we're locked in. So we're doing a larger fundraise now. We've started. We have a vision for what the next 5 years look like. I actually locked in a 1,500-day plan, I call it. And I know what I want to launch next year and the year after and the year after, subject to change, obviously, as we learn and go. And, now we know what we need to do. So we have the money today to be able to market the way we want to market, build what we want to build this year at the volume we want to build, and then do that R&D for the products we want to, that don't exist yet, that we want to pull into reality now. It takes more money than you have. So we're doing that raise to make the dream happen now. And, we could always bootstrap and slow grow the business. But I think with the quality of the people involved and who we have on the team, it's just it would be a shame to not give it everything it could do to succeed. So I think, my last company, we bootstrapped, we had no outside investors, and I really appreciated that, because I think in the media industry, with the way we ran that business, had we had VCs and investors, we probably never would have made it to an exit, right? We had too many years of up, down, negative, kind of surfing the waves that changed before we strung together 3 good years towards the end, and built a lot of enterprise value. I think in the case of Clicks, we were really lucky not to leave CES 2024 and raise too much money too quick, because I think we would have probably burnt through a bunch of it on things that we hadn't yet learned. We wouldn't have known our customers well. You would have been spending money on a whole bunch of brand and marketing before the product was really ready for it, because it took some cycles to get the product better. And I think our roadmap side just wouldn't have been as flushed out. So I think, we've been growing. Every day has felt like a marathon since we launched. I'm actually dressed up for you. Normally I roll out of bed. I'm in my gym clothes with good intentions to work out. And then I'm going to bed at night, still in my gym clothes. No workout has happened. Oof. So it's been one of those years. So balance is great, but it's really, really hard when you're trying to be as ambitious and go as quick as us and be lean, so we can have more ability to weather, any mistakes we do make in these first couple of years, because there will be some. But now I'm really, really excited, because I think we have that vision, we have the team, and we have a really killer roadmap of products that I think will surprise people. And today they see a keyboard and they have an opinion on it, whether positive or negative. And we have a lot of, we've shipped over 100,000. Our customer base has some crazy cool people in the mix, CEOs of Fortune 100 companies. We have guys like Walter Isaacson, for example, I had a call with months back. He bought the product early, loves it. He was tweeting about it. And then the CEO of Twitter, she saw his tweet. She bought one too. A lot of actors. We have one head of state who wanted to get the product. I won't say who it was. So like the product is resonating with people who like build and run the world. We also have 45% of our customers have never used a keyboard on a phone before. They're just really blown away by kind of the KSPs. It makes your screen size much more usable, or it almost doubles the size of your usable screen. They like the feel of the buttons. Young people learn quick, so their thumbs move fast, so they get it right away. And now that we see who we're building for and kind of what resonates, we just have that roadmap we want to make happen. So I'm really excited to just keep building. Hardware is hard, but I think hardware is life is more my motto now. And I think what you'll see from us too is not just hardware, right? I think software is a big part of the component we're investing in, building for, and it's part of the defensive moat. A lot of people will see a product and they're like, oh, I want to wait for the cheaper version on Temu to pop up. And the reality is you just can't build a product like at our quality level and experience level like that. We're a made for iPhone accessory. In the case of our iPhone product, you work with Apple's certification labs to make sure you're doing everything the approved way, whether it's drawing energy from the iPhone to power the device, or how strong can you make it so your iPhone's not going to break before your clicks would break if you dropped it off a building, all those types of things. And then our software experience enables you to do a lot more than hardware alone. So it's a full out thing now. It's
very cool. Yeah, I think you're probably the most chipper person I've had on here.
I mean, honestly though, it's like I said, cheat codes from being old.
Okay, I gotcha.
Not too old.
Not too old, but surviving.
Yeah, and I think the best thing that happened to me. It's a really weird. I don't tell this story often, but obviously, most people who work in journalism, they cover a lot of beats, they cover a lot of companies. And for Crackberry Kevin, I had one beat. It was a company called Blackberry, and that was my full-time gig for so long. And that company in its heyday was massive with 20,000 employees, etc. And I probably knew 500, 700,000 of them really well, really well. And everybody knew me. I would go, see those people over and over again at different events and things. And the relationships I developed there were really strong. And when BlackBerry imploded, and went down, those people went on to go through the tech industry. And you can look at the book that you should write next, John, it's like the BlackBerry alumni or mafia. What are they doing now?
Oh, interesting.
Because if you look at it, they're running some of the biggest consumer tech brands. They're some of the top developers at companies like your Apple. They're running things at Facebook that are one step away from Zuck. That audience has gone everywhere and done great things. And everybody hears BlackBerry and they're like, wah, wah. But the actual caliber of the talent they had was massive. And because I covered them so closely and built such good relationships, to get something like this going, you kind of knew who to reach out to for advice. And then based on who was available and who was just had it was great. And one of my co-founders, and he was the first one to join the team. His name is Jeff Gadway. He's our chief marketing officer. But when I went to Jeff the first time and was saying what we wanted to do, I loved his answer. He's like, Kevin, 3 things, right? He's like, I'll only do this if I can invest. I can help you get it to market. So, before we launch, I want to help you work on, the product marketing, messaging, everything else. And assuming it gets off the ground, I want to work for the company. And he was running a successful agency working with startups at the time, but he left his business behind to join the Clicks team as, investor, CMO, co-founder with me. But he came in like that because he believed in it so much. And huge kudos to him. And then Adrian and our CTO, Lang Chen, we've just been able to pull in so much experience that, again, cheat codes, because they've been cutting their teeth, or they've been, earning their stripes, building products out of Asia for years. So to have the factories to work with, have a supply chain, you know who you can work with, trust, speak the language and everything. Just a huge step up to get going quickly and not make catastrophic mistakes.
Well, that's excellent. So Clicks is the company.
Yep.
Your new products. So you're currently shipping for all iPhones, and what's coming up next?
So we started with iPhone 14 Pro and Pro Max, and that was still the Lightning connector. And then when Apple switched to the USB-C, we did all of the iPhone 15 models, all of the iPhone 16 models. We're not going backwards to older ones now that they switched to USB-C. And then this week, we just announced clicks for Android devices, starting with Google Pixel, Samsung Galaxy, and then the really, really fun Motorola Razr Flip, which is amazing because you get a form factor basically like an old Blackberry on a flip phone. And the Motorola cover display, the external display, lets you do everything on Android. So you never even have to open your flip phone to use it. So you have the most pocketable, minimal, QWERTY phone. And then if you flip it open, you have the most maximal device ever built. But it's actually a new form factor that's getting a lot of attention, and it's a lot of fun. Cool. It almost makes me want to build a phone with that form factor.
Okay, don't go too crazy, or else we're gonna have another episode where you say, it's all done, it's all over.
It's you know what, John, you're right. Like we can't help it because I'm such a phone guy, or CTO, he's such a phone guy. And I mean, he can build it, right? And then everybody else, Adrian, our CEO, and my partner, and Jeff, they're like, no, guys, it's just.
Yeah, I have a Firefox. I have a Firefox phone here somewhere that we could probably show you to dissuade you, but I'm sure
you're right. No, you're right. We always know it. It's just the tech. I'm a tech blogger at heart forever.
I know it.
And then it's funny. I was going to say, I know we're probably running long, but I got to get you on air to have you committed. Do you remember what domain name I bought in 2009? And I think I flagged your way. And I still think we should do it as a retirement gig one day. And you're already in the business. You could just take it over.
What was it?
Watchreviews.com.
Oh, Watch Review. Do you still have it?
I still have it. I've owned it since 2009. I paid like 10 grand for it in 2009.
Oh my God.
I've always been like, I'm going to launch this one day. I never have. The game has obviously changed, but I feel like it's very authoritative. And
that works. That actually works pretty well. I have wristwatchreview.com, which I still run.
Maybe we should just do a deal. And I've got no time for it now, but I'm like, you're in the biz.
Yeah, let's do this. I think we just found a new
episode.
Found a new job. This has been Keep Going, a podcast about, in this specific case with Kevin, success after success after success, which is super frustrating to people who have, like me, have failed constantly. But I think your excitement and your enthusiasm are going to rub off on a lot of people.
I hope so.
All right.
Keep going.
Thanks, Scott. This has been Keep Going. I'm John Biggs. We will see you next week.
Thank you for listening to Keep Going, a podcast about success and failure. Remember, Keep Going is entirely listener supported. If you're listening to this, please head over to keepgoingpod.com, where you can subscribe to the podcast for as little as $5 a month. This is a labor of love, and every little bit helps. Thanks for listening.